Okay, it says it's live.
Except only to us.
I don't think so. You get view. I mean, you can get viewers. Here, let me see if I can be a viewer.
So the house still wasn't fully finished. And so we moved in and we started realizing that as soon as the day that we moved in, we wanted to sell the house. And before we actually moved in, someone came and paid us nothing. And so now the house is sold. And our view is we have to move out. So these last months.
I think that's it.
Yep.
Not you personally. Yeah. We create.
Ready to get started. Thanks, everyone. We're ready to get started with the next part of the program. My name is Adam Christie. I'm the Director of Student Life and International Services here at Mount Allison, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Sackville, John Hyan. John, I know John, and I've known John since I moved to Sackville in 2003 from British Columbia. And we discovered very early on that we had a lot in common. For starters, being our hockey loyalties, both being Vancouver fans. It was rare when I moved to the East Coast to see someone wearing Canucks paraphernalia, but John, as it turns out, is also from British Columbia. He's been in Sackville for 25 years. So that's where our association started. It moved from hockey loyalties to team loyalties as we both played hockey in the Mount Allison. In fact, the Hockey Association, we can call it that, where we play on Monday and Friday mornings. John was organizing and helping to organize that as well. But there's a lot more about John, and I wanted to share some of those points with you. He sent me a rundown of his personal and professional bio. It's on my phone, and I'm now in that transition period where I have to get the so I'm doing my best reading off my phone or just making reference to my phone.
So John was elected mayor of Sackville in 2016. He first was elected to our town council in 2008, and he's been involved in a lot of areas and a lot of aspects of life in Sackville. I will have to make reference, John, to your community work here. Yes, so you've got, he was treasurer of the Sackville Community Association, which is our Christmas cheer branch. He's the president of the Tangemark Veterans Memorial Center Civic Center Board. That's our rink, which we have passed when we get to town. Very involved with youth and the Lacrosse Association. He was vice president of Lacrosse New Brunswick. He was a member of the Tangemark Planning Commission. But John's background is, his interest has been in geography. He got a degree from Sackville University in geography and economics, and did a master's in natural resource management. He's worked for Indian and Northern Affairs. He worked for the urban, rural and small towns planning commission, or rural and small towns program here in Mount Allison, just with a real interest in the use of space, how people interact with that space, and how people make connections. And then he went into, he's a partner in a local consulting firm. This is Shinekto consulting firm, which is focused on building partnerships among Aboriginal peoples, government, and business. So John's personal and professional life has covered a lot of ground. We're really thrilled to have him as our mayor. Just very progressive, bringing a lot of new insights and into how we make Sackville a more progressive, welcome place. So, John, thank you for taking time to welcome everyone.
Thanks for that. Well, for those of you who are from away, it's welcome to Allison, welcome to Sackville. I'm glad you're here. I'll get to explaining why I'm dressed like this later. For those who are from other countries, this is a traditional Canadian sweater. I was asked to consider a municipal role in creating positive change towards social justice. And when I first thought of that, I thought, geez, local government's pretty mundane. You basically do sewer, water, road, potholes, recreation services, and not a whole lot more. If you do more, you have to raise taxes, so people want to do that. And so I think that I went in looking at it thinking that there's not a lot of big picture stuff here that we're going to have to do. We're going to be effective and efficient. Only a couple of days in to my mandate, which is basically about a year old today, maybe a week over. We saw the Orlando Pulse massacre in Florida. And it quickly became clear that there were a lot of people in this town that wanted to do something about that. And the very next morning, we held a vigil at the town hall, and people spoke about what that meant, what we had to do as a community, and how to show solidarity for those who had been hit in Orlando. Soon after that, I was giving a talk with Ian Hannah-Mensing at the Marsh, where we did a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. Then we welcomed refugees from Syria a few weeks after that. In fall, in this, actually the building next door, presented to a legislative committee on climate change. What are the threats here at Sackville and around? What are the impacts? Who are they hitting? Who are they going to hit? What do we need to do about it? And then went to the Legion. We hoisted banners along the streets that the Legions had designed and funded. And like so many things, I get credit for doing it. I had nothing to do with it. I just came and announced it. And the banners celebrate people from this area that have been veterans and fought for social justice, not only here, but around the world. And it was a really touching ceremony. Throughout the season, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the migratory bird treaty right up the street in Long Street. Then we have put up Shriners flag, a Hoppy flag, a Pride flag, and several other flags as individuals come forward and say we'd like to do something for the community. So all of that positive. And then one night in winter, we woke up to see the reports of a swastika trampled into the field of snow here on Mount Allison. And that was really disturbing to many of us. And in that period of time, from the nature of the celebrations that we had and also the concern about the swastika and where that came from, really started to understand that elected officials have that mundane job, absolutely, but you also have a role to play. So you have a voice that people seek out and look for in those times. And they expect that your leadership will articulate what we feel, where we want to go, set a tone for how to address those things. I'll talk a little bit about some positives, I think, because we're about halfway through the first year mandate when this really started to strike me. One way to look at this is if you don't do local government well, what happens? We don't have to say the definition right now. That's an example of how injustice for individuals, health problems, family issues, all came from poor local government. And some of those things happen all over the place. That's probably the most high-profile one, but last Sunday at the Globe Theater here, we had a webinar that was called 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. And those 13 steps were too often simple local government activities that were done incorrectly. But they didn't think about the distribution of impacts. They didn't think about where this should go, who's it going to affect, what are the surrounding features of it. They spoke about water, of course, protect people that just protect the business that's there and not open up to competition. That they're afraid of new people coming in. I came here 25 years ago, I heard about that. Oh, you're from away. You don't really understand what we're talking about. That you shun the youth. Well, they're busy. You shun the seniors. And that's 13 Ways to Kill Your Community puts the lens on what happens if you don't think about these things. And unfortunately, there's way too many communities that don't think about those things. So I guess I'm saying that local governments can lead in building attitudes and capacity towards social justice. But if they don't do it, they should at least be trying to slow its injustice. There's a way that they can do that. They should look at their own activities as well as just thinking about the issue. Right now, our small town, I think, is a community well suited to addressing social justice. One of the reasons is obviously the people that come from around the university. There's a different group of flock that comes out of here, absolutely. But we've got a whole bunch of individuals and groups that are active on a whole bunch of things. And I think the reason for that is certainly not me. It's an inherent now factor in this town. For example, we have an age-friendly task force that is now examining this community for what does it mean here? What do we need to do to make sure that people as they age are fully included in our community? What are the barriers, physical, social, service, business-based, advisory-based? What are those things that we need as a community to address now to make sure that that happens all the way through? We have an adult literacy that's doing really well up at the rink. We've got a group seeking to redefine the elementary secondary school system locally. 2020, it has a completely different vision about how those systems should be run. It's still public education, but much more progressive about the way in which our children would learn. We've got floodplain action. You might have seen that already. We're working on the internal freshwater flooding right now down off of Warren Street. So hopefully we'll be able to stop the rather consistent flooding that we've been seeing, which is coming from climate change. And we're also talking about what we do next, which is the saltwater flooding that's going to happen. Our dikes were built about 300 years ago by Acadians for farming purposes, and they're basically subsided. Also had a rebound that this area has sunk, while the north has increased, and the climate has increased the water. So there's about a 20 centimeter difference, I think now, in the water in the bay. So the dikes are in essence now the railway track. So there's not a whole lot of protection for this whole area from saltwater flooding, so that's one area that we're working on right now. The town does do nonprofit grants, very small, but just a symbolic measure of all of the groups that are talking about things and doing things that are good for the community. There's a seniors college, which started in, I think, a room in this university, and now does the whole Southeastern Frontier Focus College of Sackville. And more recently, if you have an opportunity to look at it, the old fire hall on Main Street has been turned into the Sackville Commons, which is dedicated to finding ways that somebody sees something they want to get done, come there, they'll look for people that have expressed interest in that type of thing. They'll look for grants, they'll try to help you articulate it and bring forward. Another thing that I found in this brief journey is the role of proclamations. Every council meeting, I'm making a proclamation of some kind. It's not necessarily anything to do with the direct relationship of what the town has to do, but it means a lot to certain people. Lyme disease is here. Mount Isa now has a task force on it, but most of the people of the town don't understand how prevalent it is. So we have a proclamation to raise awareness. We've had proclamations on brain damage and bicycling and dedicating roads. We've had poetry month. We've had a history week. We've had a literacy week. And today, why I'm wearing this is that we declared that it's plaid for dad. Because this is a fundraiser for prostate awareness research. And so on this day, we're supposed to wear plaid. So if anybody's taking a picture, let me know, because I'd like to get it up on our Twitter account, just to prove that I followed through on the proclamation. But it's all of that. It is all of this that communities can make a difference, and they can make social justice and social change. It's not the local official, as I said earlier. Sometimes I get credit for something, everybody else gets it. I step up these things. And that's really the key, is that if you empower the people who have that desire to change, that they need to know that there's a tone in your community, that there's a leadership voice, that there is other people out there thinking the same thing, and that's when things will happen. So in summary, local governments can be very, very mundane and boring, or you can try to change that. Try to change the attitude of it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. You've accomplished a lot in a year and a week, did you say? I'm ready to move to Sackville. Thank you very much for coming and thank you for those words. Hi, I'm Jennifer Sitter. I'm the Executive Director of ACIC, and I have two tasks this morning. So I'm going to, in a moment, introduce another one of our special guests. But first, I'd like to say a few words. As you know, ACIC is governed by a board of directors, and we have 8 very dedicated people who serve the organization. And we have an ebb and flow of board members leaving and joining. And I just wanted to say a very special thank you to someone who's not going to be at our AGM this afternoon. So Natalie Goss has been our Newfoundland representative and has served ACIC's board for the last 2 years. And she has put in an awful lot of work into helping us to establish a risk management framework that we just passed yesterday. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your work over the past 2 years. And we're very sorry to see you go. And if you wouldn't mind coming up, we have a little gift for you.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be on ACIC's board of directors. And I thoroughly enjoyed working with all of you, and I've learned so much from the AGM over the past 2 years and working with partners and members. Thank you so much. It's much appreciated.
And so you can be as impressed by him as I was when I didn't know half these things about Ariel. So Ariel has a BA in political science from McGill University and an MA in international relations from Carleton University. In 1992, he joined the Department of in 1986, he had joined the Department of External Affairs. He served abroad in Ankara from 1987 to 1989, and in Washington, D.C. from 2002 to 2006, where he was Minister Counselor, Congressional and Legal Affairs, and led the Government of Canada's advocacy on Capitol Hill. In Ottawa, Mr. DeLuia has held a number of positions, including departmental spokesperson with the Media Relations Office and Deputy Director of the International Economic Relations and Summits Division, where he was responsible for G7 summits. From 1998 to 2002, Mr. DeLuia was on secondment to the Privy Council Office, first as Foreign Policy Advisor in the Foreign and Defense Policy Secretariat from 1998 to 2000, and then as Chief of Staff to the Clerk of the Privy Council from 2000 to 2002. Before being posted as Ambassador of Canada to Tunisia in August 2009, he was the Director of Policy Research Division with Foreign Affairs and International Trade Canada. In August 2012, Mr. DeLuia returned from Tunisia and was appointed Executive Director of Mission Inspections for the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade in Ottawa. And since September 2004, Mr. DeLuia has been Director General of the Engaging Canadians Bureau with Global Affairs Canada. Impressive list there. So welcome. I'd like to invite you to speak to ACIC members and participants of the conference.
Oh, cheap, I'll use my iPad. Of course, it's just okay, thank you very much, Jennifer, for the kind introduction. I'm absolutely delighted to be in Brunswick and Sackville today, taking part for the first time in a symposium that ACIC organizes annually, and it's annual meeting later this afternoon. I'm particularly pleased that this gives us an opportunity to talk about some of the priorities that I know ACIC, its members, and government can share, notably in respect of our international engagement. I've come before you at a really interesting time. For most of you are aware, a week ago today, the Minister of International Development, both launched a new feminist international assistance policy as part of a week-long focus on international affairs that began with Minister of Foreign Affairs Freeland's speech on Monday, laying out kind of the new directions of Canada's foreign policy in the light of changing international trends. And then, of course, a couple of days later, we had the Minister of Defense, Mr. Sejan, announced the new defense policy review. What was noteworthy, I think, about the international assistance policy Minister Legal launched last Friday is that it lays out a new vision and a foundation to position Canada as a leader on gender equality in its program, its aid program. The minister, I know from spending a lot of time with the House, a bit passionately about the importance of gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls as an indispensable basis for approaching change, and that's reflected in the new policy. She believes that gender equality and promoting equal rights for women and girls is the most effective way to reduce poverty, foster prosperity, and promote peace and security. She also was convinced that the focus we're placing on women and girls and the empowerment of women and girls will help us meet a number of our key SDG commitments under Agenda 2030. This is not news. Canada has a long-standing commitment on food policy in terms of trying to reach the poorest and most vulnerable, particularly women and girls. That's been frankly a focus of our aid program for some time. What's different is that now it's a categorical statement about the placement of women and girls at the very center of our international assistance policy with 5 spokes, if you wish, overlaying all of them by gender equality and the advancement of women and girls' interests. Those other spokes are human dignity, growth that includes everyone, environment and climate action, inclusive governance, and peace and security. In taking action in these areas, Canada will advance a more flexible, innovative, and integrated approach toward achieving gender equality and addressing the root causes of inequality. This approach also aims at reducing poverty, building peace, and addressing humanitarian crises in the world's least developed countries and among its most vulnerable populations. In support of Canada's new feminist international assistance policy, Minister Guilbeault also announced a new Women's Voice and Leadership program as part of the new policy. The government will allocate as part of this program $150 million over 5 years to respond to the needs of local women's organizations in developing countries that are working to advance the rights of women and girls and promote gender equality. This will make Canada a leading donor in supporting women's rights organizations in the South. Canada's new vision builds on the evidence gathered during the 2016 International Assistance Review that I know many of you either fed into directly or indirectly. As part of that review, as you know, we engaged a wide number of Canadians and international partners. We had over 15,000 submissions in the review. There were consultations held in 65 countries, 9 official consultations sponsored by the Government of Canada, in Canada throughout the country, and then of course a number of consultations organized by civil society actors, the Local Council Network, ACIC belongs to. Focusing Canada's international assistance on the full empowerment of women and girls is, in our view, the most effective way for our international assistance to make a difference in the world. Within 5 years, investment in programs that will specifically target gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls will represent 15% of Canada's $2.6 billion in bilateral development assistance, up from 2% in 2015-16. All projects in all sectors will now have to integrate gender equality and women's empowerment from beginning to end, from design, conception of a program, right through the development of that program idea, implementation, to measuring its outcomes. Canada will also ensure that no less than 50% of its bilateral assistance is now directed to sub-Saharan African countries that are among the world's poorest. In short, it's an exciting time for Global Affairs Canada and the advancement of Canadian values internationally. As a corollary to that, many of you, of course, are well aware, and we've spoken about it in different contexts since yesterday, that on May 9th, Minister Guilbeault announced a new $100 million fund to help small and medium-sized organizations. In fact, as someone rightly pointed out this morning, I think it was Brian Tomlinson, this was a reflection very much of the work that the Inter-Council Network, Planning Council for National Cooperation, and the other 7 councils invested over the past several years in shining light on what they viewed as a significant problem, and which to a certain extent the empirical data seemed to reflect. But the empirical data did reflect, just so I can share it with you, is in fact amounts being spent on programming for partners had increased over the past 10 years. But it is true that that funding had been constituted increasingly with larger organizations that tended to have a certain advantage of flourish in terms of completing a call for proposal successfully. That's a process that many partners found difficult to navigate, onerous at times, and if you're a small organization trying to find a way through that process, it's often more daunting and challenging than it is for a larger, more established organization. The fund in question will target specifically organizations that are small and medium, which we define as organizations that spend no more than $2 million a year in international programming. The pilot funding will offer financing over a 5-year period to support innovative programs related to key government priorities, obviously, again, with empowerment of women and girls at the forefront. Up to $94 million of the 100 will be dedicated to programming in a single fund with 2 windows. One is a thematic fund where there will be predictable opportunities to submit proposals The lion's share of that money, of the 94 million, will be concentrated on that thematic fund, with a smaller portion focused on an innovative fund that will foster innovative ideas, innovative solutions that perhaps can be scaled up. The grants in that case would be small, up to $250,000. In the case of the thematic window, funding available from $250,000 to $3 million. As well, there will be a $6 million window set aside for capacity building, knowledge sharing, and promoting or public engagement. So, exciting time to be where we are. A lot of this rests with MIGRO, the $100 million fund rests with MIGRO. I'm ultimately accountable for it. And I look forward to working with partners on this rollout. We expect to start rolling out components of the fund this year. And we obviously look forward to having partner organizations from ACIC potentially seek opportunities for funding within those different elements of this $100 million fund. Let me close with a word on another party that's dear to my heart, and I know it's dear to ACIC's as well, and that's youth. We're in the midst right now of renewing two of our most important youth internship programs, International Youth Internship Program and International Aboriginal Youth Internship Mission. Those are being renewed for 4 and 5 years respectively. The International Youth Internship Program is worth $23.4 million over those 4 years. The International Youth Internships is worth $10.5 million over 5 years. The reason why I want to emphasize youth is, if you're not already aware of it, the Prime Minister, in addition to wearing his hat as Prime Minister, also wears 2 other hats. He's Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs and he's Minister of Youth. On the latter, it's a role he takes very, very seriously and passionately. He formed a year ago a youth council comprised of 30 young people from across Canada, ages I think 16 to 24, if I'm not mistaken. He very much rejects the notion that youth are future leaders. He will tell you that youth are leaders right now. And when he talks about engaging youth, it's not just on issues that are of direct concern to you, employment, education, etc. It's across all matters of public policy. So it's not surprising in Minister Debo's consultation political review, you played a significant role in that. There was in fact a session where she only met with young Canadians and young from across the country to hear their views about international assistance priorities. But I want to put real emphasis on youth and encourage the work I know many of you are already doing, engaging youth. And this is another area where I see opportunities for collaboration between this council and the other councils and my group. And I'll stop there and I'm really looking forward to taking questions.
I have a question. I might have misheard. You were talking about, in addition to the government funding for small, medium-sized organizations, and all the rest of it, you mentioned there's also an additional $6 billion for public engagement, education. What would that
It's
look
part of
like?
that.
Oh, part of it. So what would that
So
look
it's
like?
$94 million for the
Yep.
first 2 pillars, which are thematic window and innovation window. And that's obviously all programming money. And then $6 million set aside for capacity building, knowledge sharing, public engagement.
So what would that look like? What's an example of what that could look like?
What that could look like is either activities that we would promote in partnership with some of our key partners, like the councils, to promote knowledge sharing, bring partners together in a certain context, talk about issues that matter to all of us, whether it's how we ensure we do performance measurement well, or how we deal with gender-based analysis. Public engagement speaks for itself. It's initiatives that seek explicitly to both inform, but more importantly, to mobilize Canadians in support of the international agenda, the international assistance agenda that Government Canada has. Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering what the International Youth Internship Program was.
Oh, okay. It's a program that's been around since 1997. It's part of something broader called the Youth Employment Strategy. It's a Government Canada wide strategy that brings together, I think, 11 government departments and agencies. It has different streams. The International Youth Internship Program is part of something called the Career Focus Stream. And I'll be very candid. I would say that the internship programs are more about equipping young Canadians with the skills and experience they need to successfully integrate the job market. This is not a surprise. There was a serious problem across the country with youth underemployment, youth unemployment. The Youth Employment Strategy, again conceived in 1997, carried forward by every government since, seeks to address that. The International Youth Internship Program does that by specifically targeting young Canadians who have obtained a university degree, who are interested in international development, and through which they will spend usually a 6-month internship in a developing country, working on development cooperation projects organized between the sponsoring organization. So we don't manage the program. We basically invite proposals for funding from different organizations. We go through a merit process. We do that right now. And once we select those partners, they then recruit young Canadians and deploy them abroad as interns. And then there's a program to reintegrate them when they come back. We're looking at to share with other Canadians their experiences and so on. What tells us the program is successful is that we measure where interns are typically 5 years after having completed their internships. I believe the percentage is over 80% are in full-time work in an area of their interest.
One of the discussions about the calls for innovation, partnerships. Among the youth in that innovation, you will also develop for unsolicited proposals.
Absolutely. The way that works, the way that window is going to tend to work is it's an open window. People come as they come with their proposals. We assess them. If we deem them, serious and worthy of financing, they get financing. So it's completely an unsolicited proposal. It's an open window for continuous inflow of submissions.
Can you just repeat the amount again? Was it 100 million over 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on this one. I'm just curious about what innovative proposals would look like, not only partnerships with that also community development measures or like our social entrepreneurship issues.
All of the above. I mean, when we think about innovation, we're not talking strictly about inventing a new do that, it's going to do something. It's a process, it's a system, it's a methodology, it's an approach. It's something that is by its nature innovative, that contributes to addressing global challenges that need to be resolved. What form that takes is quite fluid. What we're looking for are both obviously interesting and promising ideas, but ideas that potentially, if successful, can be scaled up and receive even more funding to achieve perhaps wider results. So I resolved one question? No.
Maybe one last one. Is it on a website, the clear difference between thematic and programming funding? Is that
It's not up yet, but it will be.
Okay.
It will be, and once it's out, it'll be very, very clear what the processes are, what the different windows are, so that an organization can find where it's most likely to fit in terms of securing some funding.
Great.
I'll be here for the rest of the ACIC Symposium, so please feel free to grab me and if you have any questions, whatever. I'm happy to come to whenever that I almost.
Thanks, Ariel. I think it's a really important opportunity that people are to join this program. So thank you for sharing that good news, and I'm sure you'll have some follow-up conversations with many people. So my name is Carolyn Whiteway. I'm also with ACIC, and it's my pleasure this afternoon, or this morning, I guess almost afternoon, to introduce a very interesting speaker that we're privileged to have with us here today. I want to preface this by the fact that you will see in your, on our Symposium website, in the program as well, that we had anticipated having a different keynote speaker at this point. And I want to just spend a moment to explain a little bit about the change of that. And so the speaker that we were hoping to have join us from the Congo today was Alice Mugisho-Musimwa. And Alice was the recipient this year of ACIC's Southern Speakers Fund. And this is a fund that ACIC began 3 years ago. We've had 2 Southern speakers with us so far. Last year, any of you who had attended the Symposium in Halifax would have seen Mr. Mubarak, who had come from Kamba in Tanzania, who joined us. And if you had the opportunity last night to go to the film, Kokota, that CFI was airing, that you would have seen Mubarak there. So since we've implemented this Southern Speakers Fund, it's a small fund to be able to assist our ACIC members to bring their Southern speakers here to Canada. And we do it with the timing of the symposium. And that's important because we have a really interesting speaker join us, but it's also important to build the capacity of our members, because those speakers are here, they're liaising with their partners, their funders, their constituents, in order to talk about their work and build those partnerships. So we're quite disappointed that unfortunately Alice wasn't able to join us. It was going to be a tremendous opportunity for the organization, as well as for us to hear firsthand of the work that she is doing in the Congo, and continues to do so. However, the very, very good news is that today we actually have the founder of the organization that Alice works with. And I'd like to introduce Freddie, because he will be speaking on behalf of ECAAIR and also speaking of the work that Alice is engaged in as well. So it's a big bio. Freddie has much to offer and a tremendous history. So Frederick Wangabo Mwenengabo, close enough, is a peace and civil rights advocate from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he's been living here in exile in Canada since 2009. He's the founder of and executive director of the Eastern Central Africa Association for Indigenous Rights, ECAAIR, and the work that they do is there, and I'm sure you'll be hearing much more about it. He has been he's also an ambassador that represents 15 civil society organizations working for democracy, peace, and development at the United Nations, European Union, and African Union. So Freddie's an advocate who has at times been arrested, kidnapped, and tortured because of his human rights work, and who stands against injustice in and outside of his country in the DRC. On March 5th, 2012, he launched a 48 days hunger strike to raise awareness about human rights issues in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and brought the Canadian government and other Francophone nations to take a leading role in the peace process in the Congo, promoting the creation of the first United Nations peacekeeping mission to use force to end M23 rebel movement in DRC. Since 2010 to 2013, he's been part-time lecturer at the Faculty of Anthropology and International Development at UNB, University of New Brunswick. He's, as I mentioned, the director of ECAAIR, and it also works with the Multicultural Association of Fredericton in various positions. He's a volunteer on many boards, working with groups and committees, and the list goes on. I'm going to allow enough time for Freddie to speak about the work that ECAAIR is doing. And I must say, over the past few weeks, as we were in those nail-biting final days of seeing whether or not Alice could come, I've witnessed firsthand his ability to advocate, and lobby. And I hope that the successes of that work will continue. So, Freddie, you can come to
Thank you so much. It's always challenging when you are introduced by someone like Jennifer. People might be expecting that you will be speaking so many wonderful things, you know. So that is the challenge for me. And after the mayor and the director, listening to all of them, it's always a challenge. Yes, as Jennifer said, my colleague Alice Mugisho was not able to join us because the online system of immigration delayed to give her a number for the visa so that it can be tracked, her case can be tracked and get the visa from the Democratic Republic of Congo. But I hope I can represent very well the work Alice does. And I will first start by introducing the organization. Eastern Central African Association for Indigenous Rights is a non-profit organization. We started in 2003, and we work with indigenous communities. We work with communities destabilized from wars and so on. And we are in the Congo, we are in Uganda, and now we are here in Canada. And it's a fair tale, actually, how we came to exist in Canada, because like our theme, global common concerns, global citizens, our responsibility. ECAAIR speaks around that, because firsthand, I saw the love of Canadians. There is a time I was arrested in Congo. I was indicted by the military for treason charges. And if I was found guilty, I was to be executed. Many organizations such as Amnesty International, the UN, Human Rights Commission, and different organizations came abroad to support, to advocate. So I also understand the role of advocacy. And that is the work that Alice is doing in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I was helped to learn I was taken by Amnesty International with the support of the Catholic Church, and I was brought in Uganda. But in Uganda, in relation, in collaboration between the Ugandan government and the DRC government, I was again kidnapped in Uganda and tortured, but this time I was really with Amnesty and I was in a protected house. Even if I was taken out, lots of advocacy came out, and quickly I was removed. And that is where Canada came in, and they picked me, and I was brought to Fredericton in 2009. And my coming to Fredericton, I've seen the love, the beauty of global citizenship. Quickly, I had fellow New Brunswickers joining, and we formed a board, and they said, we have to form a board of directors, and we have to keep helping you continue with this work. I saw 3 psychiatrists joining the board. I saw 2 doctors. I saw different people. I saw First Nation communities welcoming us, even the chiefs in the First Nation communities, and that was really seeing what global citizenship is. But whatever I've gone through, I can't compare it with someone like Alice. Alice, ECAAIR is a small organization. We have only 56 staff. And here in Canada, we have only 3 full-time and 5 part-time, and volunteers, of course. But I can't imagine my work, and I can never compare it to Alice's work. Because one, she's a woman. I will show you about statistics of rapes in Congo. She represents those women who have been raped. She represents victims of torture. And you guess who is doing that? Part of it are military, militia, people, and so on. And once you bring that those cases to the court. And being a woman, you can imagine. So it takes really courage. And Alice is one of the heroes that inspired me to try and do something. And it's quite great that Canada is taking leadership in the protection of women. How do I go to the next? This is Alice we're talking about. I was not supposed to wear a tie today, like you were putting your own just for a good cause for a fundraiser. But she told me that because I can't come, and we lawyers have our way of dressing, and when you represent me, you may not dress that way, but just put a tie. Because you don't have, she has a tie. So, as I continue, this is part of our team, and we're looking towards into contributing to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals as an organization. I'm told the time is not there, so I will try to run, and then in the end I will be summarizing the reasons we feel that that the theme is speaking to ECAAIR, and we feel we are part of this. So in Canada, as I've said, that we have programs we've started. Since 2009, we're running a very famous program now that actually the province is taking on, known as IME Youth Project. The IME Youth Project focuses on the mental health and the well-being of youth between the age of 10 and 24. And these are communities, newcomers, and all youth at risk. And we are so indebted to the First Nation because we're running these programs in the St. Mary's First Nation community in Frederick, free of charge. We don't pay the rent, we don't pay anything. They host those programs. So I'm an Indigenous person, I'm from the Pygmy communities, and that tells me I'm back home in Canada, home away from home. And in this program, in Canada also, we run peace education, such as the United Nations Peace Education, Human Rights Awareness Campaign and Education. We do those in schools. And we do prevention and capacity. That is almost also like education. I will continue down. This is how our IME setting is. This is in St. Mary's First Nation. And here we are fortunate to have our federal member of parliament being part of it, our MLA, the chief of the First Nation, and we learn in a circle. And these debates, these dialogues are brought by the youth themselves, because the way we learn, we say there is no barrier, no stigma. Talk about it as you feel, and you are living it. And we always have a psychiatrist or a family doctor leading those conversations. And this really removes the barriers that youth have towards mental wellness and mental health challenges. We have a same program in Congo, we have the same program in here as well. And we do also advocacy in schools. We work too much with schools in New Brunswick, and for instance, there are challenges being faced by children and youth, and we work with teachers, but also we work with families. And we do also referrals and do accompaniment. For instance, if they have a court case, we accompany them. And one of our partners, strong partners, is also the police, because it costs $120,000 to keep a child in prison who has on penitentiaries who have committed something called serious crime. But we think that if a child could commit a crime, for instance, they had loud music in their house, and someone called the police, instead of making that a charge or a legal charge of them, we will take that charge we will work with the child, we will also work with the police, and we'll give them a transitional period. And after that, they will be cleared, nothing will be there. Really thankful that the police in Fredericton can accept a model like that, because the child is not, when you arrest them, they feel like they are failed, they feel like they are not part of the community, they are hated, they don't want to be part of any community. And you can see the result that there is no productivity for the country, not only today, but even tomorrow. So a program like this prevents a lot. I don't need to talk too much about that. This is First Nation, and you can see the youth, the chief, for instance, also we build community. For instance, the chief cooks for them at dinner. They are also expressing mental health through art. This is a doctor, a psychiatrist, and free of charge is working with the youth, and that removes barrier. If a child was sick, accessing mental health will no longer be a problem, because when they meet that doctor, it's like I've been with a friend. I will continue because I don't have too much time. These are some of our sessions. I'll go down. This program has been recognized by the provinces. 3 weeks ago, it was awarded by Horizon Health as the most innovative youth program on mental health in the province. The city of Fredericton has also recognized it. ECAAIR runs also peace activities, and these are some education in schools. I'm running because we don't have too much time. These are, you spoke about, the mayor spoke about the event that happened in the US, the bombing, and how communities came together. And these are some of the things ECAAIR did for us. For instance, this event you see here is during the bombing in Paris, and we brought the communities together, Muslims, Catholics, believers and unbelievers, and the city of Fredericton supported this, and we come together to speak about peace in our region and how we can promote peace globally. But when we talk about some of these pictures might be traumatizing, and if you don't feel looking at it, you can step outside a little bit, because I'm going to explain a little bit about Alice's work. Alice's work, you can see this man, rebels, because they thought he's against them or he's taking the information to government. They put acid on him. So those are the people we work with. And how do we support them? We support them with small money to have access to health, to have access to counseling, to have access to different things. And the woman who is there is actually one of the women who was raped and got a child. And the child is holding in the hands. She wanted to kill the child because of what she went through. But when she went through our counseling, she accepted the child, and today she had the child. Things can never be the same, but it's building life slowly. I'm just putting that to show you the work Alice does. All these girls are victims of traumatic events that we're talking about, rape, or there is also this phenomenon of being accused of witches. Because of poverty, small children are being accused of witches. They are being considered the bad luck of the family. Some are being killed, and some are running on the streets. So those are some of the people we are working with to connect them also with communities. We, victims of traumatic events, we come also with solutions of innovation. Because again, we're talking about mental health, but Congo has no mental health services. In fact, we have only 3 psychiatrists in the country, and in the East, more than 30 million people have 2 psychiatrists, and those are ECAAIR team. So you can imagine that there is no services. But with activities like this, small community activities, we put together a group of 30 people working together to heal, but also with economic opportunities. For instance, we will buy them piglets, and those piglets, someone will train them about how to raise them, will work with them. Of course, there are lots of challenges, it's not a fair tale, but when you are invested in it, you find that there are solutions. They can get food, they can get access to health, they can get to heal themselves, because people are better healed when they are together. We support children in schools as well. I'm just running so that I can go to conclusion. Do I still have some 2 minutes? Okay. So I'm going to give you a quicker picture of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Democratic Republic of Congo now has around 8 million people, and 65% are youth under the age of 24. Since 1998 to date, Congo has known a war that mainly on mainly when you hear the statistics, they say between 5 and 6, 10 million are dead. But for us at ECAAIR, we know between 6 and 10 million have been killed. Over 30,000 children are still in armies, are still captured in armies. We have over 3 million people who have been forced to cross borders as refugees. And these include the recent numbers from the Kasai who have gone to Zambia. We have over 4 million orphan children in the country, and more children, over 4.4 are not in schools. 4.4 million children are not in school. They can't access schools because of poverty. Schools is paid by parents. And Congo, as you will see, Congo is one of the poorest countries. In fact, the 2013 and 2014 index, UN index on poverty, ranks Congo 186 from 187 countries in terms of human development, and it has the lowest GDP per capita. The 2007 UN report reports 48 women raped every hour, and these are women only in the Kivus. I don't want to go too much in details about who does that, but that is still continuing. And now, as we talk about global citizens, I would like to just summarize this because of time, and to say why this is important, why the Democratic Republic of Congo and the people of Congo are important to the Atlantic, but also to Canada in general. And Atlantic have a moral obligation on DRC. Why do I say that? DRC has affected the climate. You have to look at DRC. DRC has the second largest Amazon forest in the world. DRC has the largest river, second largest river in the world. DRC has the most waters, second in the world. So we have moral responsibilities. But when we're talking about also these people dying, we talk about Canadian values. I think our values are better protected when we invest them in humanity. But again, the investment of Canada in Congo is too minimal, even if Congo has been a country of priority recently. Congo is the largest Francophonie country in the world, and because Congo has 80 million people, France has less. And Canada is known to be the leader, actually the founder, one of the founding nation of the Francophonie organization. Canada has economic interest in the DRC, and it still continues to grow. I can tell you how many people have phones there. Do you have laptops? Have you ever traveled in plane or planes? Between 70 and 60% of the minerals fabricating those things, the chips of your cards, or your bank cards and so on originate from Congo. And Congo is the third largest investment of Canada in minerals in Africa. So we have an interest, and we can't say that Canada will not be there. We just want Canada to be competitive in contributing to peace, in contributing to the well-being of Congo, because in peace you can invest more. And that is a call to really put out so that we can compete with other nations. Congo has the youngest nation. Maybe in peacekeeping in the near years to come, it will be Congo if Congo had that peace. And I can also say that Congo is also having growing collaboration. People of Congo and people of Canada, there is a lot now being exported and imported from Congo. Canadians are getting from Congo jewelries, we're getting different things, but also Congolese are importing things like cars, like clothes and so on from Canada. So it's growing and we need to invest in that, but we need to also promote peace. And if anyone investing in Congo will see the future, and that is why this theme speaks about us as Congolese and us as Canadians. I don't know, Alice may not be happy with the presentation. If I didn't satisfy, you'd say at least I had a time.
I know that we're getting close to lunchtime, but I want to open it up for a few minutes to questions. So I think it's Sherry. We were thinking we need a mic. We don't need a mic. So if you could just please stand up to ask your question.
How did you get started working on mental health with youth in New Brunswick? Was that out of your experience in the Congo? Why did you choose mental health specifically, I guess is my question.
That was out of my experience. These programs already have them. And actually some of our programs in Congo were being taken. I was taken by UN committees to advise on mental health before. So reaching here, I still have those connections. And also being from a country of war, sometimes I see how youth are responding to issues here. And sometimes people are thinking they are being difficult. You can imagine someone fighting with traumatic events, someone fighting with weather, someone fighting, because now when you come here, that is where your mind takes you back now to where you're coming from. It tells you what has been happening because you have something to compare it with. And it can be quite damaging if the government cannot wake up to start addressing those. But when you look at the First Nations communities, and you look at the generational abuse they've gone through, and you will see how it's going forward, and it's impacting, and this, and that is what pushed me into this. But as to First Nation, I come from the Pygmy community, and I had already lots of relationship with the First Nation, even across the globe, because we were in the same committees at the UN and the ECOSOC and so on. So I know what, it's hard for someone to fit in someone's shoe, but when you wear it together, you even feel that it doesn't feel for the two legs of you to fit in one. Yes.
Sorry, can you give us a little more insight into the title of ECAAIR for East and Central African Association for Indigenous Rights? So I don't know much about the Indigenous profile of a place like the DRC, and you mentioned that you're from the Pygmy community. Can you speak a little bit more to, or give more context around the Indigenous aspect of the DRC?
Indigenous people in DRC are we're talking about yes, you're right, I've been talking about the bigger picture now. I've been talking generally about the Congo. But even within the suffering of the general Congolese, you have where the victim also victimizes the other because of one reason or the other. So, for instance, pygmies are looked at as not equal human beings. Some of them are looked at as animals, and this is because of their culture of hunting, gathering, their traditions of dancing, and so on. So there are these beliefs even who extend that if a man who is HIV/AIDS sleeps with a pygmy, they will be cured. So we've also, from the victims themselves, we've had them also coming down to the indigenous communities and cause all those disasters. But apart from that, there is also the people of the government and governments, for that matter. They are evicting them from land, selling their land. For instance, Congo has just discovered that it has a world reserve, which people say could be more than what Libya has. And all that place, they are cleaning people, they are creating different conflicts there, they are creating different issues there, which the international community will never know about. Because they would say, my came here and killed 10 people. Tomorrow they kill 20 people. Tomorrow they kill 5 people. All that is to lead them in terror so that they can leave, and there will be extraction of gas. So that is what I would like to say a small joke before I conclude. I know maybe you still have many questions. This joke is not mine. Bush died. Believe me, he's not dead. Bush died, and he went to die. And he came to Saturn. He looked in hell, and he asked Saturn, "Where is Osama bin Laden?" Saturn said, "He's not here." Bush said, "Wait, can you give me a phone?" Bush asked for the phone. And he took a phone, and Saturn said, "Will you pay the bill?" He said, "Yes, I will." He called. He said, "But be brief, because you know that is an international call." So Bush went on call and called and said, "Let me call Americans and tell them that bin Laden is not here." He took less than a minute. The Queen of England was sleeping in the corner. And he said, "Me too, I want to call." And Saturn said, you were peaceful before Bush started this. You are not causing trouble. Why?" And she said, "You know what? No, I don't know what killed Diana, Princess Diana. I'm going to call also and ask." She took 1 minute and a half. And then when Mobutu, you know Mobutu is the former dictator of Congo. When Mobutu saw that everybody has called, he said, "My money has been in safe havens, and I don't know if my children took it, because I will never go back there." And he told Saturn, "Can you give me a phone also I call?" Saturn said, "You want to be in trouble. You've been in so many troubles where you were. Why are you again causing yourself trouble?" Mobutu said, "Don't exaggerate. Give me the phone I call my friend." "Will you pay the bill?" He said, "Yes." Mobutu took the phone. He took the wife was in the market. Because he talked too much, he looked for his son. He called the son. He took 2 hours. When Saturn started writing the bill, when he wrote for Bush, he wrote $10 million. Bush said, "Oh, how will I get this?" Bush wrote a check and gave it to Saturn. The Queen, 10 million pounds. She wrote a check and gave it to Saturn. Mobutu, $1. Mobutu wrote a check. Bush said, "I know you are not fair." Saturn said, "Since when did I become fair?" He said, "My friend, to call the US and here is an international call." He told Diana to call the US and he is an international call, but to call DRC and he is a local call. So Congolese are in that.
I know that this hasn't given justice, I think, to what Freddie has wanted to share with us today. But I do hope that you'll take some time to speak with him if you have any further questions. And I, again, just want to thank you, Freddie, so much for being here and sharing that with us. And before we leave, I just have to remind people that we are back at Tweedy Hall for the lunch. And there is a graffiti wall that you can share your thoughts. And I encourage you